openSUSE Tumbleweed is a rolling release Linux distribution that uses the RPM packages, so the Red Hat package management. You can choose from a selection of desktops of the software installer, so you have GNOME, KDE, XFCE, LXDE, LXQt, Enlightenment and Mate. I have gone for the KDE desktop because it's a very well styled version of KDE. Well, openSUSE always used to produce a very well styled version of KDE. When I looked at Linux distribution Extern OS, it was quite alarming to see an end-user license agreement, and I was a little bit annoyed at seeing that, about how privacy could be invaded, and understandably many of you guys were as well. So why is it when we look at openSUSE do we have a license agreement? Okay, it's not to the same effect as Extern OS, but here we have a Linux distribution, a very popular Linux distribution with an end-user license agreement. So first off, we're going to take a look through it to see if there is anything out of the ordinary, anything alarming, and we have a very shouty mention that there is no warranty of any kind, and yeah, that's fair enough, understandable, and that no employees of openSUSE will be responsible for any damages. You acknowledge that openSUSE Tumbleweed is subject to the US Export Administration regulations, and you agree to comply with such. You will not export or re-export openSUSE Tumbleweed directly or indirectly to any countries that are subject to US export restrictions. Any end user who you know or have reason to know will utilize openSUSE Tumbleweed in the design, development or production of nuclear, chemical or biological weapons or rocket systems or unmanned aerial vehicle systems, except as authorised by any relevant government agency. Okay, so it's not too alarming, so let's get on with the review. I've gone and installed quite a few things to it already, but first off, before we get too far into the system, I just want to take a look at the memory usage. It is using 580 meg of RAM, which is a little bit on the high side for KDE. However, I have allocated this system 16 gig of RAM. Getting a look at the system processor usage, and it's actually fairly minimal. There's not much CPU being used with nothing much open, so that is fair enough, or with nothing open I should say. And checking out the kernel version, we find it is the latest, so it is 4.14.2, which came out on November the 24th, and that was about 1 week ago. Excellent. Of course, I have found a bit of a problem going with the latest and greatest kernels, and that is the NVIDIA graphics, so I have had to throttle my system back to the 4.13 kernel for the moment. In terms of actually getting the NVIDIA graphics, I noticed on the openSUSE community page that it was possible to install graphics through a meta package, so a one-click installer. I came across this page when I was trying to install the multimedia codecs, which was what I went for here, so the KDE multimedia codecs. Kind of just about worked okay. There was a little dependency issue within the package management, however I could sort it out, so that was well, a lot more useful than deb package management. Software installation is carried out through YaST, or yet another setup tool. Not quite as glamorous as Moon or Discover, which are the standard KDE package management tools. However, I was able to search through a variety of applications. Searching here for SuperTuxKart, we find it is one of the very new versions. Perhaps looking at some programming tools, let's go for, say, PHP. So PHP 7 will install version 7.1.12. In terms of the Mesa graphics drivers, we have version 17.2.6. From the applications I've looked through, this is including the KDE applications, it is actually very new and up to date. So yes, it really is a rolling release. So do I therefore conclude that this is absolutely perfect and an ideal replacement for KDE Neon? And unfortunately, I don't really think that. I do respect everything that openSUSE have done here and think this is a very good distribution if you would prefer to go down the RPM route. All the applications I've tried running have run perfectly well, so my issues are certainly not on the running of the system. No, not at all. Or maybe I should consider this is absolutely perfect for me. Now, I think the points I don't like is there's quite a few applications pre-installed. It's nowhere near as lightweight as KDE Neon, but that is, well, a minimal KDE Linux distribution. So we have a few lightweight games on here. Internet, there's a few extra tools than I would normally have. Multimedia, just ignore that. I've installed most of those applications. I think the only things it came with were Dragon Player and K3B. Office, well, it came with a full suite of LibreOffice. No, one thing I did notice, it doesn't have all the KDE applications. For example, chronometer. No, it does not exist. And because I found a moment of weakness here, I did start pushing further, went through some more of the KDE applications, and failed to find Falcon and KML Donkey. I probably could have gone further, but realistically I just found a couple that weren't in there and decided to mention it. And yeah, you might say, Quids, you're talking absolute nonsense, what do I care about those applications? And yeah, that's fair enough, but someone might care about those applications, and if they're not on there, they will have to go and find them. In that respect, it is not quite as convenient as KDE Neon. However, I do like the YaST control center, and this is something over and above what you'll get in the Ubuntu-based distribution. We have the ability to change some of the kernel settings. Yeah, I think I'll walk away from that one. There are some more useful configurations you can do here through a convenient GUI rather than going through config files. It's like host names, NFS client, NTP configuration, proxy, remote administration, Samba, setting up a VPN. That looks quite convenient to do. And you do have a more business side use of this distribution with LDAP and Kerberos, so you could potentially authenticate to a Windows Active Directory server. In that respect, it could be very useful for the enterprise environment. So I have enjoyed my time using openSUSE. Looking at the system settings and the theming, it is very reminiscent of the Breeze theming. It's not quite Breeze, it's very similar. Initially I did think it was Breeze, but I think it's sort of subtly different. The Plymouth bootloader is certainly a lot more customised and actually looks excellent. In terms of actually using the system, I have found it as fast and responsive as KDE Neon. So yeah, happy with it. It's just to be really picky, it is missing some of the KDE applications. But thanks for watching, I'll see you all later.